Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 71 of Preston Jensen's podcast. If you're new here, I'm your host, Preston. Yes, I am back this week. And right away, I just have to say, well done, Chelsea. If you guys didn't listen to last week's episode, I suggest you go back and take a listen. Last week, I was very sick, under the weather, missed 2 days of work, and that's pretty rare for me. Usually, if I'm sick, I still try to make it to work, but out for 2 days. And the funny thing is, when you're sick, you care about absolutely nothing other than trying to feel better. Last week would have been and was my 70th episode on my podcast, and that was a big milestone for me. I've been trying to get to episode 70 ever since I started. You know, it was just one of those things like, oh man, I have to get to 70, 75 is next, then 100. You know, when I started my podcast, I was thinking maybe I'll film this or record this intro and the rest will be history. I'll be done. Everyone's heard the stats that most podcasts fail after a couple episodes. And I'm pretty proud that this podcast has lasted 70 weeks straight. And without Chelsea, that would not have been possible. I couldn't have got an episode in on time on Tuesday without Chelsea. So once again, I gotta say, well done. And it was a very good episode, especially for those teachers out there. My podcast is usually focused on technology, drones, interviewing creatives in the community on YouTube. Not necessarily all YouTube, though. A lot of other stuff out there too. A lot of things that I would have never thought I would be talking about. But so yeah, it's just a good variety, a lot of fun stuff. I've had fun learning. I hope you guys have too. I've got a lot of cool people to talk about or talk with in the future that I think you guys are going to find very informative. And hopefully you guys can get a little inspiration. This has been a fun test for me. I do not like talking in front of a camera, but that's getting easier too, and I'm kind of starting to enjoy all this. So tonight's episode, before I had any other guests on, I wanted to talk about all of the releases of technology that I'm excited about. And there's a lot of stuff. And unfortunately, all this stuff is very expensive. So if you don't have a side business in the technology world, a lot of this stuff probably won't be feasible to buy just for fun. But here's a couple of the things I'm excited about. And if I'm excited about it and you guys are listening to this podcast, I'm assuming you guys are going to be excited as well. So let me just share my screen here. If you guys are new here and you're listening online, I'm running it through Ecamm Live, and we are recording video as well. So a lot of this stuff will have visuals with it. Most of it's just off websites that I've found when I'm talking about these products. But if you want to see all the stuff I'm talking about, head on over to my YouTube channel. That's just Preston Jensen on YouTube, and follow along there. I appreciate all the views, likes, listens, all that. If you don't like this stuff, move along. Thanks for stopping by. First thing I was excited about is the new GoPro Hero 10. And as I say that, my furnace kicks in. I hope you guys can't hear that in the background, but if you can, thanks for staying along. It's tough to get back into the swing of things after you've been gone for a week. And I know a lot of people are probably thinking, oh, come on, Preston. You've been podcasting for 70 weeks straight and you don't have any episodes banked up. You should be ashamed of yourself. And no, actually, most of the time I do these episodes on the fly. And I do that for a reason. One, it's a big challenge for me. And so I like to learn on the fly like this. And it's more challenging for me to do that. So I'm going to keep doing that in the future. It would be nice to have a few episodes just in my back pocket. So if something comes up like that, I'll be able to push out an episode on Tuesday. But this new GoPro has a lot of unbelievable features. I'm still stuck on the GoPro Hero 3 Black Edition, and that is still an amazing action camera. And every year a new GoPro comes out, I keep thinking, oh, why would you waste your money on that? You've got the old GoPro, it can do basically everything. But now with the 10, it's come to the point where it does a lot of stuff that the Hero 3 does not. And some of my favorite features are obviously the frame rates. This new GoPro can film 5.3K 60 frames and 4K 120 frames. Now, I just saw some videos that came out today that said that there is some overheating issues with the drone. And I saw in the one video I was watching, the person was saying that most of the overheating tests are being done with the little flippy mounts retracted into the GoPro. And on this new GoPro, they flip up into the body. And I guess when you flip them up, they block some of the heat sink ports, or I guess I don't know the technical term for what those ports are, but so if you actually flip them down into the position that you will have them in when you're using it, the overheating issues aren't as bad. However, they are still a factor. And that's one of the things that kind of upsets me about the new GoPro. But when you look at all the rest of the stuff that it brings, I guess I can kind of overlook that. But I would like to see more tests done in the future, because when I'm podcasting, if I want another look, I like when people have like bird's eye views using a GoPro, and I don't have that on my podcast. And if I had that set up, I wouldn't want it overheating. Some of you guys may have seen the video I did on my Sony a6400 overheating. The reason I bought the Sony a6400 was the fact that it didn't have a record limit, and it didn't have overheating issues. And when I got the a6400, on the first interview I had with it, it was a big interview, and right in the middle of it, boom, it started overheating. And so I had to resort to plan B, which was just a basic generic webcam at the time. But I found that there's a setting in the Sony a6400 that you can turn on. And since I turned on that setting, it just increased the threshold for amount of heat it will have before it'll shut itself off. So if you guys haven't seen that video and you are having overheating issues, check that out on my YouTube channel. And it has been the fix for me, and I haven't had any issues with my camera since. So overheating has been something that I have been worried about, and so that is kind of frustrating. But one of the things I'm really excited about on this GoPro is the Hypersmooth 4.0 stabilization. If you guys haven't seen it, it looks amazing. It's almost gimbal quality, and actually I've seen a lot of footage using gimbals, and a lot of it I feel like this Hypersmooth is actually better stabilization. And it's got a new processor, and I know that was one of the things that a lot of creators were upset about, is that the screens on the GoPro 9 and 8 were kind of laggy, and that's something that we've all been spoiled with. If you're an iPhone owner, those screens and the touch screens on those phones are unbelievable. And if you've got a Rodecaster Pro, I would compare it to that as well, because the Rodecaster Pro touchscreen is almost like an iPhone. And it's frustrating when you have a piece of technology that's brand new and you go to use the touchscreen and it's laggy. That's something that just totally throws me off, and I probably won't even buy the product if it's got a laggy touchscreen. So I was happy to see GoPro had fixed that. Some of the other tech I want to talk about is Apple. They always constantly come out with great new products. The new iPhone is unbelievable. If you're watching me scroll through all this, bear with me here as I get to the top, but it's got a lot of crazy new features. iPhone 13 was released, iPhone 13 Pro, Watch Series 7, iPad Mini, another new iPad. I am a huge football fan, and I know this has nothing to do with anything, but I really like watching the Super Bowl every year. And one of the other things I compare that to is the Apple keynote that they come out with every year. I love technology, and every year I feel like I'm just as excited for the Apple keynote as I am for the Super Bowl. And for those of you who know me and know how much of a sports fan I am, you think, that's crazy. There's no way you like a keynote as much as the Super Bowl. But I honestly, for as long as I can remember, have watched every second of every Apple keynote every year it comes out. And every year it's totally amazing to me. And this year didn't disappoint. I'm excited to see all the reviews on YouTube when people get their hands on the iPhone 13. And when this video and this podcast was released, there's going to be thousands of reviews already online of creators who have got this product early. One of the things I was a little concerned about was that cinematic mode that they're talking about. I've seen a lot of content creators say they're having issues with that, and I don't know what issues they're having, but from the keynote presentation, it looked phenomenal. One of the things that looked game-changing to me was that you can film a scene, and if you decide you want to change the focus after the filming has already taken place, you can do that. Now, what I've seen is that people are having issues with that. I don't know if that's something that can be addressed on a firmware update or not, but to me, it's amazing that you can do this kind of stuff with a cell phone. When I got the Sony a6400, I was thinking, this is the next big thing for cameras for me. And the reason I got it is because it could do so many more things that an iPhone could not. Now, it looks like you can take photos of the night sky with iPhone 13, and that's something that you probably couldn't do with the older models of the iPhone. And if you did, the pictures weren't as good. Now, I still do not think by any means that an iPhone will be able to take astrophotography like my Sony a6400 paired with the Sigma 16mm 1.4 lens. But it's amazing that a cell phone with a sensor the size of, the end of a pen can take photos of a night sky. And there's a lot of other things that this phone is good for too. It's got zooming capabilities. It's got macro photography. If you're watching on the video now, you can see the focusing that I was talking about earlier. There's just so many things that iPhones do that almost make it, well, it is a computer in your pocket. And basically, everyone says the best camera you have is the one you have with you. And even though this wouldn't be the best camera I would own, it would be nice to have it as a tool because, like I said earlier, you always have your iPhone with you, or most of the time you do. Another thing I was excited about is the Watch Series 7. When I got the Apple Watch that I have now, which is an Apple Watch Series 4, I didn't know if I was going to be able to use it or not. I know, you get used to wearing just a regular watch and you think, what would you possibly use an Apple Watch for? But when you get used to having notifications on your wrist, you get used to having the weather. I have it dialed in for drone jobs. So as many of you know, I've got a drone company and I get a lot of calls during the day. And if someone says, hey, I need a drone picture done tonight, I want to know quickly if I'm able to do it. And Being from North Dakota, the biggest factor is the weather, and I've got it all set up so I can see wind speed, temperature, wind direction, all of that kind of stuff, so I can quickly look at my wrist and say, hey, yeah, I can probably fly tonight, probably get you some photos and videos, or no, it's not possible. So I was excited to see the new bigger screen for the Apple Watch. It looks like it might be a little bit bigger, but it looks like the screen is substantially bigger, and it looks like it has a lot of features that the watch I have does not have. And the other thing that's so important about the Apple Watch is that it has all of the health features that you don't really need, but once you have them, it's super convenient when you can do your heart rate. And I think the new ones even do, I should look it up, but they've got all sorts of different health things that can sync to your health kit on your Apple phone. And they're amazing. So Apple came out with that Apple Watch. They also came out with the iPad mini. That's something that more and more content creators are using, is the iPad, using different drawing tools. And though a lot of people aren't yet editing on the iPad, it seems like a lot of the thumbnails and replies and all that stuff that go along with YouTube are being done with the convenience of an iPad. That's something that I would be, I think would be very useful in the future if I ever incorporated an iPad into the workflow of my podcast. And the other thing I would like about an iPad is that you can kind of use it as a dual monitor using your Apple computer, if you have an Apple computer. And I think that's called Sidecar. That's something that I haven't used, but I could definitely see how it could improve your workflow. Let's see. Of course, AirTags, that's been out for a while. All the new cases, AirPods. That's another thing I didn't know that I needed until I got them, and I use those like crazy. I was always used to the old Apple headphones that you got with the phone, and those with the hard plastic, they never quite fit in my ear right, and whenever I would work out with them, they'd constantly fall out. With the new AirPods Pro, that doesn't happen. They come with the soft ear tips that seal into your ear quite well. You can get your phone calls on those. You can get noise cancellation, so when you're mowing, you can still listen to your music. That's something that's not new, but I thought I should throw that in because it's something that has been a wonderful addition to my technology, let's say, kit. And the last thing I want to talk about is the DJI Mavic 3. Now, owning a drone business, my daily driver for my drone business has been the DJI Mavic 2 Zoom, and I have got wonderful shots with that drone, but I'm to the point now where I'm almost bored, and I don't know if that's because of my creativity is lacking on different drone shots. I've exhausted all of the smart flight modes in that drone, but flying the drone isn't as fun as it once was. And I think with the new Mavic 3 drone, I think that'll add some more excitement back into the flights because it'll have a lot more capabilities. It's got from all of the leaks, and if you're on YouTube right now, I'm looking at a page called Drone XL, and it's talking about all sorts of leaks on the Mavic 3. It's talking about the dual Hasselblad camera, new RC for the DJI Mavic 3, and we've also found out that depends on what combo you're getting. So if you're just getting the basic Mavic 3, you probably are not getting the new RC, but if you get the Cinema Premium combo, you will be getting that new RC, which is basically a smart controller. I've talked about on this channel before that it would be nice to have a smart controller because you wouldn't have to always keep your cell phone charged. Throughout the day, if you're on your cell phone and its battery is dead and you get out to a drone job and you have to use your cell phone as the screen and it's dead, well, then you lose your job, and it's a big bummer. But if you have a smart controller, you just have to remember to charge your controller, your batteries, and then you're good to go. The one thing I was very nervous about, I was looking through this website, and I found out that some prices, let's see, DJI Mavic 3 price significantly higher than Mavic 2 Pro. And if this website, Drone XL, is correct, the Mavic 3 base model would be $2,515 US. The Mavic 3 Fly More combo would be $3,394, and the Mavic 3 Cine Premium combo would be $5,617. And I know that that is a lot of money, and that's crazy to think about, but when you factor in the amount of money people can make with these tools, and these are tools, I mean, these things are built for professional drone companies to be built on. And back when I started my drone company years back, I started with the, the Mavic Air, the original Mavic Air. And a lot of people were telling me, nah, you can't start a drone business with the Mavic Air. There's no way the quality will be good enough. It won't be able to happen. And I said, well, I feel like I'm getting some good shots with it. I'm going to see what I can produce. And I was very pleased with the original Mavic Air. I got a lot of great content with that. And I was able to build a very good client base using that drone. And when the Mavic 2 came out, and I purchased the Mavic 2 Zoom, I was just able to up my game a little bit. There was a lot more flight modes that I was able to incorporate into my drone business. And now I'm hoping that's the case with the Mavic 3. I haven't really decided what Mavic 3 package I'm going to be getting yet. I'm going to have to do a lot more research. All of these leaks are very promising. I feel like they're kind of trustworthy because in the past, there's been a lot of leaks with DJI products, and they end up being true. So I tend to believe some of these, but that could be a trap too. The drone could be released next month, and it could be nothing like what these people are saying, and then everyone could be disappointed. So I want to put a little disclaimer in there. All of these are just based on leaks. This isn't from DJI. These are just basically rumors and leaks that people have pushed out on the internet. I was trying to see here. Yeah, one of the articles here says Mavic 3 remote controller depends on the combo you pick. I touched on that a little bit. There's been a lot of good photos that have come out on the Mavic 3. And if these leaks are not true, someone has went through great detail to get some pretty amazing pictures of a drone that looks very neat. I'm excited to see that. It looks like the drone's going to have improved vision sensors, improved cameras. It looks like the zoom will be a little bit better. Hopefully it'll have improved flight modes. If you haven't listened to my podcast on, I think it was just a few episodes back, I think 4 episodes back, I talked about all of the features I was hoping for in the Mavic 3. And it seems like a lot of the features are there according to these leaks. One of the main things I'm really hoping for, and I've heard nothing about, I have heard that it will have an improved flight time, which wasn't a big concern of mine just because most of my shoots don't even last a half hour, and the Mavic 2 batteries are good enough for that, especially since I bought the Fly More combo. I've got 3 batteries. Most of the time I'm covered with that. But in regards to the battery, I'm really hoping that these batteries will be able to fly in colder conditions than the Mavic 2 batteries. And I don't know what they'd have to do to make that happen, if they're going to have to put a heater on the drone or not. But that's something that they haven't talked about, and it's definitely on my wish list of things. because I fly and I have my drone business in North Dakota. A lot of times I'm basically shut down in some of the winter months because it's negative 30 degrees with 30 mile per hour wind. And in those conditions, you just cannot fly. The wind is too strong. And if you could fly, if there was no wind, the temperature is far too low for the drone to maintain its battery life. So hopefully they can surprise me. Another thing that I had on my wish list that I haven't seen in any of the leaks is some type of weatherproofing. I think that'd be very cool, even though you shouldn't be flying in the rain, for the chance that you're out flying and a storm rolls in and it gets a little bit wet. That would be cool if it was totally protected. That's another thing I wanted to touch on with the GoPro. I really like that they're willing to go out on a limb and say that they are waterproof to 33 feet. I feel like most companies now always say water resistant just to save their, kind of save themselves, because even if they are waterproof, they don't promote it as waterproof. So I do want to say that's pretty cool that GoPro still states waterproof down to 33 feet. And I know you can get dive housings that can make it waterproof to even farther down. But that's just a side note that I thought was kind of cool with the GoPro technology. Very impressive. And these cameras, the GoPro cameras, are basically bulletproof. I mean, I've had mine for several years, ever since the GoPro Hero 3 came out, and I haven't had any issues with it, and it's still running strong. It definitely doesn't have the resolution or frame rates that the new GoPro has, but it's still pretty impressive. It's got a waterproof housing. I've taken it diving many times. I've had it under my boat. I've taken it fishing, had it out in the snow, and it's been wonderful. I've had no issues with it, and it's been a great camera. So if I do pull the trigger and get the GoPro 10, you guys will hear a whole lot more about it on this podcast and on my YouTube channel. I'm hoping to get the Mavic 3. However, I do see that Autel is releasing a lot of new drones too. So I'm kind of waiting until all the reviews come out from all of my favorite YouTubers. I like to support all of them by watching their channels and checking out and seeing what they have to say about the new products before I purchase them myself. It would be fun to get my hands on them so I can run my own tests on them. Nothing quite is the same as getting your hands on a product and being able to test it yourself. So hopefully I can get a couple of these products in the future, and hopefully I can share my thoughts with you guys. If you guys have any questions that I didn't go over, or if you've got any technology that you guys are excited about that I didn't touch on today, feel free to reach out to me and message me what those pieces of technology are, because I'm a technology nerd and I love to hear about all the new stuff coming out, and it is amazing what people can do. All of this cool new technology is just baffling to me, and I'm excited to see what the future has to hold. There's a lot of cool stuff coming up. So thanks again for listening to episode number 71. Chelsea, thank you so much for keeping the streak alive of this podcast. Episode 70 last week was fantastic. Thank you all for listening. Stay tuned, and we will see you, or you will hear from me next week.